Hey, what's going on, man? It's your boy Jay Sewell, man. No, I just wanted to post this video, man. This shit been like kind of on my mind a little bit, so I want to continue this shit. You know, basically, man, this video is about the HBO evangelist. Jim Lampley. Damn, man. The more I think about them, the more I just get sort of like disgusted with them because I'm gonna watch the Crawford fight because I'm a Crawford guy, so I just want to support him. But man, it's just gonna be hard, like trying to listen to Jim Lampley, man, call a fight, man, because he's just so fucking biased. Now, let's see if he praised Jamal Crawford like he praises Manny Pacquiao. When he gives Manny Pacquiao credit for landing and missing punches. Nobody misses a punch like Manny Pacquiao. Wow, did you see that miss by Manny Pacquiao? I've never seen a guy miss like that. I mean, it's just so amazing, So, I mean, because, Jim Lampley, to me, he has a history of, showing blatant bias. I've already expressed that. Look, to me, I'll go on record and say it. I think Jim Lampley is a fucking racist. It's been proven that he's a fucking racist. We know for sure he's a hypocrite. He talking about Floyd's past with women and shit, but this motherfucker got, a domestic violence case on him himself. This fool pleaded no contest to domestic violence. Then, not to mention, he has that drunk Michelle Beadle as a co-host. So, I guess they go hand in hand. The problem that I have with HBO, they always have some kind of agenda. I kind of heard 7-8 Sports talk about it, last week on one of his videos about how they try to push basically the non-American. Well, it's not non-American. It's more so the non-black fighter. With HBO, it's anybody but the brothers. I mean, I saw this going for years. Even with Oscar De La Hoya. They always was kissing Oscar De La Hoya, praising him and shit, for fights. Some of the fights that he didn't even win and shit. I remember when he lost to Felix Strom and shit. You actually had Larry Merchant making excuses when, he did an interview on this guy Pedro Fernandez show, out of San Francisco. And Pedro Fernandez said, well, I thought Felix Strom won the fight. And you know what Larry Merchant said? Well, he said, well, would you want to be responsible for blowing a multi-million-dollar upcoming fight? So he basically gave the judges a pass for, giving Oscar De La Hoya that gift decision. And then I just remember how they would try to lightweight disrespect Shane Mosley and shit. They always would, they had a history of doing that. Larry Merchant would said, well, Shane, you beat a fighter, you knocked him out, but so what? They never came at Oscar like that. They don't do that with Manny Pacquiao. Just like this whole agenda trying to push Triple G and Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. Look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I don't have no fucking problem with Triple G personally, but I have a problem with his team. Not wanting to step up and take big fights, take risky fights. Being, content with just fighting, all these Uber drivers and warehouse workers and motherfuckers that fight at Target and shit. And just taking these straps. To a certain degree, championships mean something, but then to a certain degree, they don't. It all depends on who the fuck you beat to get that championship. I mean, if you win a championship, let's just say you beat a guy, but the guy that won the championship fought for a vacant title and then he beat an average guy. Okay, what does that really mean? So, to a certain degree, belts mean something, but then sometimes they don't. It just all depends on who's fighting for the belt and how did the guy that you fighting for the belt get the belt. See, people never take that shit into consideration. So, just like this shit with HBO, man, the problem that I have with them, they're trying to tell us that Roman Gonzalez is the best fighter in the world. And I'll say bullshit to that. And then you have some people that's like P back and saying I concur and all that shit. Like I said, you got to remember in boxing now, they doing this anybody but the brother shit. So that's why they trying to push all these non-black fighters like Triple G and all that shit. And Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. Don't get me wrong. Chocolatito is an excellent fighter. But let's keep it real, man. Nobody saw this cat till earlier this year. And to be honest with you, nobody cared about this division that he fights in. Like, just because Jim Lampley say that Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez is the best pound for pound fighter in the world, I don't have to accept that shit. And I'm not going to accept that shit. That man got to do more. Now, they sitting up saying that Chocolatito, and see, that's the problem that I have with them. It's always about these guys that's knocking people out, man. Okay, yes, Roman Gonzalez is stopping people. He knocking them out, but so fucking what? It don't mean shit. You know, saying that you the best fighter in the world because you got a whole bunch of knockouts. See, I'm finna kill everybody with this shit. I would kill HBO. I would shut Jim Lampley down. I say, so you basically saying based off the fact that these guys get knockout that make them #1 pound for pound, right? I say, okay, well, if that's the case, then Deontay Wilder is #1 pound per pound because he's knocking everybody out. 34 fights, 33 knockouts. So I guess he should be pound per pound, right? But you wouldn't say that. Because you would turn around and say that, well, it's a question of the competition that Deontay Wilder did fought. Well, it's a question of the competition that Chocolatito did fought. It's a big question of competition that Triple G did fought. See, they would be stuck if I brought that to them. I would love to see how they would talk around that. If you the only guy that know, if you the only good like fighter in that weight class, then that pretty much says absolutely nothing. I mean, in the weight class that Chocolatito is fighting in, who's just as good as him? Who's a threat to him? And to be honest with you, okay, how about this? Chocolatito then had like quite a few fights in that weight class. Why don't he step up and try to see could he set up a fight with Guillermo Ringendale? Why don't they see could they make that fight? That would be an interesting fight. Why don't he challenge himself and say, okay, you know what? I'm through with this division. Let me see what I could do with somebody like Lomachenko or Ringo. And then as far as Triple G go, already then like let him have it. Like I say, want to fight this guy? Don't want to fight that guy. Interested in fighting this kind of guy? Sort of not interested in fighting that kind of guy. You make demands, and when somebody accepts your demand, you turn the fight down and fight somebody else. So I just don't get that. Somebody need to like help me with this shit. But then again, this is the reason why I blame HBO, because basically they're just trying to brainwash you. No. It doesn't work like that, man. You're not finna have me saying, oh yeah, well, Roman Chocolatito is the best fighter in the world. And I only just seen him fight, well, basically twice. Yeah, he's the best fighter in the world. Nah, fuck that, man. Gotta do more than that, man. But then, you know, HBO has a history of trying to brainwash people. I remember when they was on Hector Camacho Jr.'s nutsack. And then he eventually got exposed. Sort of tried to do it with Prince Hamed. He got exposed eventually. You know, they sort of do that shit. But then, the dude that they should have been saying was the best fighter in the world, they sort of like ran him off, trying to treat him like shit, which was Floyd. Never had nothing good to say about that dude. Always was shitting on him, even when Floyd beat Oscar De La Hoya. They just blatantly did an interview with both of them, like a side interview with both of them sitting together. You know, I guess it was not a side-by-side, excuse me, y'all. It was what you call, like, Floyd in the studio and Oscar via satellite. And they blatantly was disrespecting they was blatantly disrespecting Floyd Mayweather. I mean, just blatantly disrespecting the man, praising Oscar De La Hoya, but then trying to shit on Floyd to basically his face. And Floyd never forgot about that shit. And that's why when he had the chance, he moved to Showtime. And he flat out said that Jim Lampley them was racist. And he had every right to think that shit. Because they did act like they was racist towards him. Jim Lampley has shown the history of sort of like making racial innuendos. You know, shitting on one fighter, praising another fighter. Mad at Ringo for beating Nito Donaire. Mad at Bernard Hopkins for beating Kelly Pavlik. Mad at Felix Strong for beating Oscar De La Hoya and Oscar winning the fight. I mean, I'm not lying about this shit. You just catch certain shit that these dudes be doing. They got a history of doing this shit and trying to brainwash the fans. It's to the point, like, I don't even like listening to these guys talk anymore. Especially Jim Lampley. Because he's just too much of a homer. You know, you can't call a fight where you blatantly rooting for a guy, man. You just can't do that shit. I don't know what the fuck he's holding over the executives at HBO's over their heads. But it must be something big, because I don't know how he still has his job. And I think part of the problem why maybe HBO might be losing viewership is because of him. Why people is turning away. It's not just me complaining about, the HBO staff. It's other people. I done heard several videos, people complaining about the HBO staff. But what I'm saying is, they try to brainwash you. And I'm not letting these fools brainwash me. I know what the fuck I'm seeing. You not finna convince me that some dude that we just seen this year for the first time is the best fighter in the world, pound for pound, that he's better than everybody else. No. And you're not finna convince me that a middleweight, that's virtually didn't fought nobody, is one of the best fighters in the world. Now, if you want to say Sergey Kovalev, I can live with that. Because Sergey Kovalev been doing his thing, man. He been beating everybody that they put in front of him. So I don't have no problem with that. But it always appears to be the best fighters that you guys think are. They seem to have a contract with HBO. And the ones that don't have a contract with HBO, you make it look like they don't exist. But anyway, that's my thoughts, man. Fuck HBO, man. You can't brainwash me, man. I'm out.